The Bostonian is Matt Perrault.
This is our city.
The book is Dave Sharapan.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
Together, they are the Bostonian versus the book.
You covered! You covered 12! Covered!
Follow the show on Twitter at Boston versus the book.
How do you like them apples?
Bringing you the best insight on sports betting news, Matt and Dave's daily picks, and an entertaining and unfiltered dive into the sports betting industry. Here's Dave Sharapan and Matt Perrault.
And here we go.
What's up, guys? How are you? Welcome into, well, it's a different looking Bostonian versus the book here on a Tuesday. We are live on our YouTube channel at Boston versus the book, live on our X Twitter channel at Boston versus the book, or replayed every night on Sports Grid TV, Sirius XM channel 159. And I am sure you guys are going to have a lot of questions as to, well, Matt, what is going on here and why are you solo? So we told you yesterday that there was going to be an announcement coming up on Friday, and there will be an announcement on Friday as long as Dave is able to come back and do the show for the rest of the week. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. I know he wants to say a lot to you guys about what is going on. There are some of you guys who are in the brigade that you know what is going on, and I think once you all find out, I think you will have a pretty emotional reaction to it. And we are all going to be here for Dave when Dave needs us. And I'm going to let him explain what that is and how he will need us going forward. But the show is going to be different. And the show is going to be a lot of me and a lot of guests until Dave comes back. Now, we were planning on starting this next week. Next Monday was going to be where you were going to get primarily me hosting, Matt Perrault. Hi, I'm not sure I even said that. So it's going to be a transitional period. Some of you guys are going to hate the show. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you that I told you this before a couple weeks ago, that like transition and change is hard. No one likes it, right? The show works. There's no debating the show works. This is not supposed to be a solo show. This is not supposed to be the Bostonian. Like that's not what this show is. This show is the Bostonian versus the book. So you have two people and two really close friends that get to sit down every day and talk sports. And that's not going to happen. And it's going to happen hopefully for a couple of more times this week. And then we'll explain what's going on. But that was the plan for this type of program to start next week. And then we're going to be off for the 4th of July week. We always take that week off. That's just a typical thing for us vacation wise. So we'll be off. And then we'll come back on July the 7th, and it will be just me. So I don't know what happens tomorrow. I don't know what the show will look like for the rest of the week. I do know that this will be the show next week. You will see just me next week, then a week off, and then back to being just me for a while. How long? We don't really know how long that's going to be. But when Dave has been hinting that there are changes, there's a transition coming, there is a situation going on, that's what he's alluding to. And why? It's his story to tell. It's not my story to tell. We're not, separating. If you're wondering if the show is ending, the show's not ending. If you're wondering, am I going my way and Dave's going his way? That's not what's going on here. There's some pretty serious things going on that once you guys find out about it, you'll understand and you'll go, oh, okay. So I'm asking for your patience, and I'm going to ask you for your support during this time. And we have always been a tight-knit community, I feel like, here for the Brigade. And we're going to ask some stuff of you guys. And probably the number one thing we're going to ask of you guys is to just stick with us as we transition and as we go into this. When do we come out of it? Well, we have a pretty good idea. We don't want to set any bars that could be we would fall short of, but we have a pretty good idea, a pretty good timeline as to what's going to happen and how this is all going to happen. And it's been we've tried hard to keep this going and keep this rolling in the right direction, and I'm going to do everything in my power to keep the show up and running. And that means I go back to my old days of hosting solo. You're going to get guests, but if you guys don't know my background, I was a radio host for a long time. So the idea of me talking by myself and talking to you guys directly and using you guys on the chat and interacting that way, that's not that surprising. Like that's not all that different from what I have done in my whole career. So we're going to bring some radio stuff to the Bostonian versus the book. I'm going to start a new segment. I was going to start it next week, but we're going to start it today, called The Opening Line. It's, if you're an old school pushing the odds person, you remember the opening line. That was a radio segment that I started every program with for basically 4.5 years. So we're bringing it back. The opening line will start every show, and we'll get into some fun stuff here and a rant right at the top. We'll get into what happened last night. We'll talk about what happened with the Thunder and the win over the Pacers. We've got 2 really cool guests for you guys coming up here for today. Alex B. Smith from the IceGuys is going to join us to break down Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final tonight in Florida. And then we're going to talk to former Major League pitcher. I've been saying Pat's name for 20 years. I've known Pat Vendetti for a very long time. I'm Italian. I see his last name as Vendetti. I've been watching videos all morning about Pat and people calling him Pat Venditte. And I have to, my number one question is, do I owe him a 20-year apology for calling him Pat Vendetti? So I cannot wait to talk to Pat a little bit later on in the program about a variety of things. If you guys don't know his story, he was the first and the only ambidextrous pitcher in Major League Baseball history. The picture on the right is him pitching for Creighton University when I was covering the Creighton Blue Jays. Top left is his Oakland A's debut. The bottom left is the last time that Pat pitched, which was for the Savannah Bananas back in 2024. He pitched during the pandemic. That was the last time he pitched in a Major League Baseball game, was during the pandemic. Empty stadium, nobody around in 2020. And then he wound up pitching for the Bananas, sold out, rocking crowd. He did pitch with both arms for the Savannah Bananas. So looking really forward to that conversation. I haven't talked to Pat in a while. We'll talk about the College World Series, talk about Omaha, talk about his baseball career, talk about life after baseball, what he's been doing. So that's all coming up. So Alex B. Smith joins us in about 40 minutes. And then we'll get into a conversation with Pat Vendetti. I'm going to do a couple of different things because the show is going to be just me. You're going to get, I don't know what I want to call it, a little more information or things on the screen than what I normally do, simply because I feel like I need to put up a lot of things so you guys can see where we're going and see how we're going to do things and how the show is going to go. So you may see more video. You may see more things flashing on your screen than what I have done in the past, just because I think it's a good idea just to be able to have some, some things that are not me. When it's Dave and me, there's 2 people on the screen. We're going back and forth. We're talking, we're putting things that, there's a flow to it. So when it's just me, I'm going to give you guys some more information. So in the first hour of the program, we're going to talk about Oklahoma City and the Game 5 win. The Pacers, and did they blow their shot at a title by losing game number 4 at home when they were up late in that fourth quarter? Ohtani hit 100 on the gun last night in his first game back for the Dodgers. We'll get into Ohtani watch. More fallout from the Rafael Devers trade. Big article today on Yahoo Sports about the dysfunction in the Red Sox clubhouse and the dysfunction in the Red Sox front office that led to the trade to the Giants with Rafael Devers. What has happened to the Yankees offense? It's incredible. They've been shut out in back-to-back games. The Yankees have scored 0, 1, 3, 0, and 0 runs over the last 5 games, and they go at it tonight against the Angels. Calci is now getting sued by the Tribes. The Tribes have gotten involved with the lawsuit from New Jersey on Calci. We've been waiting for this. I'm bummed Dave's not here for this conversation because this is a huge game changer for the entire Calci sports prediction market conversation. And then Alex B. Smith will join us, and Pat Vendetti will join us coming up in the second hour of the program. Like I mentioned, we will do a opening line. Now, I'll come up with some little fun little like sweeper and sound effect, and like we always do. So, but again, this was not supposed to start till next week. So we were going to do this next week. So today, our opening line is, where were you on June 17th, 1994? For me, and what's crazy about this is I was still in high school. I was actually going into my senior year of high school in June of 1994, because this popped up today and brought me right back. Did you know that happened 30 years ago today? For you kids who don't remember 1994, that was ridiculous. That is a complete and total shutdown of the world happening. And I'm not kidding you. 95 million people stopped to watch O.J. Simpson be chased, be on live TV down the highway in Los Angeles with cop cars following him at like 25 miles per hour. It was a car chase that wasn't really a car chase. Everybody stopped and went, what in the world? Why aren't the police stopping O.J. Simpson? Why was O.J. running? Well, O.J. was going to be eventually arrested for double murder. And everybody was going, O.J. Simpson is a double murderer? Like O.J., the juice, like the guy who's in the Hertz commercials, like the guy who was in the Naked Gun. That guy's wanted for double murder? Like, whoa. When I said it last week, that we are numb to these stories about athletes because Antonio Brown was wanted for attempted murder and no one blinked an eye at it. This is when it started, June 17th, 1994. The sports world connection to this, by the way, is insanity. Did you know that today would be the last day that the New York Knicks would win an NBA Finals game? They won Game 5 today. They won Game 5 up against the Houston Rockets. They would be up 3-2 on the Rockets. And then they would go to lose Game 6 and Game 7, and they would lose the NBA Finals to the Houston Rockets. That happened today. Do you know what also happened today? Today was the last time the New York Rangers had a ticker tape parade and celebrated a championship, because the Rangers had their parade today on June 17th, 1994. I mean, this is an incredible day in sports history, and it has to be a sickening day if you are a Ranger fan or you're a Knicks fan and a New York sports fan, because you know that today essentially was the last time that you were happy. Unless you talk the Yankees, and the Yankees had their run. I'm not going to say not the whole city of New York, because the Yankees obviously did it all. I mean, they went on from 94. They went on to a domination of Major League Baseball. And then we got into the Jeter and the Mariano Rivera and everything else that went on with baseball. So you got to kind of remove the Yankees a bit from this whole conversation, but it is pretty wild to stop and remember that this was where we were. The last time the Knicks won a finals game was today. And the last time the Rangers celebrated a championship was today. So June 17th, 1994, remembered for a variety of reasons. We're remembering it for everything else going on in the world. O.J. Simpson, 95 million people watching O.J. stopping everything. That went on for like an hour, and they thought he was going to kill himself. That's why they didn't pull it over. Everyone's like, just stop the car. Like, what are you doing? Al Cowling, his friend, driving. Cell phones were very not real back then. Like, we had cell phones, but not really. We had bag phones and like tiny phones, but nothing really like we have now. Not the internet. 95 million people watched that slow car chase because there was nothing else to watch. I believe it was a Sunday. If my memory serves me correctly, it was a Sunday, but it may have been a Monday. But I remember where I was. I was in my house, in my living room, going, what's going on? Wait, why? Hold on. We're chasing who? How are we chasing? What? Stop the guy. Just stop him. What are we doing? This is like the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, go get this guy. You want him for double murder? They let him keep on driving. And then they got him eventually, obviously. And then everything else happened. OJ trial went on. My freshman year in college, I will never forget the OJ Simpson trial. That was over, it was a while later before the trial started. And we got to know, Ron Goldman, and we got to know, all the different characters. And if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. That became part of the whole entire lexicon with OJ Simpson. And then I moved to Vegas, and then OJ moved to Vegas, which was even stranger to live here at the same time with OJ Simpson. But June 17th, 1994, our opening line. All right, what happened last night? The Thunder won Game 5, 120-109. OKC covered. I can't believe that they covered, to be quite honest. I mean, if you look at the way that the Thunder played in that game, they had it in control almost the entire time. And there was a possession there at the end with the 9.5 number where there could have been a late bucket to have that thing fall 9, and then another turnover. Another turnover happened for the OKC Thunder. Or sorry, for the Pacers, rather, to the OKC Thunder. It was one of those games last night that should have been the whole series. Like, at no point did I walk into that thinking that the Indiana Pacers were the better basketball team. I haven't thought that. They played like it at times, but I haven't thought that in this series. And the number is ridiculous now. The Thunder are minus 1,800 to win the title. They've got 2 shots at it. It's the first time we have seen the Pacers lose back-to-back games since March. And now they have an injured Tyrese Halliburton. And how hurt is he? He doesn't look healthy. He doesn't look good. And if we're going to get performances like we got last night out of a 24-year-old who just did something that we haven't seen much in the NBA, just domination. Jalen Williams, at 24 years of age, became the youngest to score 40 in an NBA Finals game since Russell Westbrook did it in 2012 and Magic Johnson did it in 1980. 5 players in the history of the NBA at this age have had a performance like he had last night. Just epic. Taking over a game. And look, SGA is going to most likely SGA most likely is going to win the Finals MVP, but there is a legitimate conversation to be had about Jalen Williams, about what he has done. 24 years of age, scores 40. Jerry West, at 23 years of age, he scored 40 in 1962. Westbrook did it at 23 in 2012. Rick Barry did it 3 times at age 23 in 1967, and Magic Johnson did it at age 20 in 1980. It's not like SGA was quiet, though. He had 31 and 10 on this, and it was his 12th game with 30 or more points and 5 or more assists, moving him past Michael Jordan and LeBron James for the most during a single playoff run. 12 of them. He's been absolutely incredible. And they had to have it in Game 4. They had Jalen Williams, obviously, in Game 5, who just went off and absolutely was the best player on the floor. And he is young. He's really young. And that's the thing about this Thunder team. When you start looking at the future, right? Because everybody wants to fast forward. Like, okay, I'm not trying to totally discount the Pacers, but the likelihood of them coming back, teams up 3-2 in the NBA Finals have won 40 of 49 titles. Okay, so it's not great. Okay, 9-40 record of teams who were down 3-2 in the NBA Finals to come back. Can you do it? Sure, it can be done, but it's not likely. You have SGA, who just got locked up. They're going to pay Jalen Williams. You're going to pay Chet at some point, most likely, and they're going to run into the same problems that Boston is running into this year about how to pay your superstars when you give them max contracts and lock them down. Who has to go? Because you can't have the same cast. You can't pay the same way just because the apron and the luxury tax gets to be too crazy. But for right now, they've got a window of basically, I think they said it last night on the broadcast of like on the post-game show where they have like a 3-year window before all these bills come due. And if they get this out of Williams and SGA, that Batman and Robin is unstoppable in the NBA. And this, we talked about the era of the Celtics last year. Well, it lasted a year. 7 championships, 7 years, 7 different teams. This will be 8. Okay, we'll have 8 different champions in 8, I believe, or is it 7 this year? Maybe 7 this year. 7 different champions in 7 years in the NBA. So next year, do we see a back-to-back? We haven't in a while. You haven't seen a back-to-back, but could this franchise be set up? Absolutely. They could be set up because of their youth, because of their depth, because they've got really incredible players who are willing to play their role, like Lou Dort, who is willing to just to play D and jack threes. And when he's on, he is an unbelievable stretch player. And then Chet is 7 feet tall. He's incredibly difficult, and he is just scratching the surface of what he's going to turn into as an NBA basketball player. So there's a lot of really exciting things going on right now. But if you're a Pacer fan, man alive, this is where, as a Pacer fan, you are furious because you had a shot. Now, when I have said this previously, people have come back and said, well, Matt, hold on. The Pacers should have lost game 1. And so they stole game 1. So the Thunder stealing game 4 kind of evens it up because the Pacers should have won game 4, but the Thunder should have won game 1. So we would be right back here. If those two things played out the way they were supposed to play out, we would be sitting right here. It would be a 3-2 lead for the Thunder, right? So I warned you guys a little bit in the comment section because, wow, OKC to 3-peat. I don't know. Whoa, we're jumping ahead. I think there was some overconfidence going on. Okay, thank you. It was a Friday for that. Okay, yeah, Dave just sent me a text, actually, said that was Friday. So June 17th, 1994 was a Friday. Thank you. Freaking Cato. Yeah, look up Cato Kalin, kids, if you want a fun deep dive into a story. MRI for the calf strain. Okay, yeah, and that makes sense. I mean, we've talked about this a lot. This is where the medical portion of the show has come in here with Halliburton and other players. We don't know where the calf ends and the Achilles tendon starts. So where's the injury? Is it high up? Is it legitimately a calf strain, or is it lower down and it's a problem with his Achilles? Like we just saw, Kevin Durant had it happen to him. Jason Tatum had it happen to him. I mean, this is a typical injury for a guy who's playing a ton of basketball and is and yeah, they're young, but Achilles and basketball players are this is the one massive difficult injury that you never want to see from a basketball player perspective. But in Halliburton, I mean, no one at this point is healthy. You can't play this much basketball over this period of time at this level of intensity and be like completely okay. Like you're banged up. Are you injured or are you hurt? Right? The difference, right? Everyone's hurt. Are you injured? He might be injured. And if he's injured, it's all she wrote. It's pack it up and we'll see you next year. And that just happens. Injuries happen. Like it stinks. I mean, ask the Celtics. Injuries stink, but it's part of the sport. So, but if you are a Pacer fan, you've got to be frustrated and angry because you did have that shot. And now you're going back home. And as we've talked about a lot on this show, the Pacers at home, all role players play better. And the Thunder, they are 0-8 ATS on the road in these playoffs. That's historic. We've never seen somebody in the finals go 0-8 in the postseason. Normally, they're not making it this far if they're not winning, not covering, doesn't matter, wins and losses, but still 0-8 is 0-8 against the spread. They've won games on the road, and they can win games on the road. I believe the record is 5-3 straight up in those games in which they are 0-8 on the road against the number. They opened up as smaller favorites, right? Not big favorites, not 6, 7, 8, 9, 4.5. We'll see where the number gets bet to, how it goes for Thursday. But you watch it and you're like, okay, there's a big mismatch here. There's a big talent discrepancy here. And I am interested to see the way the Thunder play in game 6. because it's the same thing that could happen tonight. And Alex B. Smith of the IceGuys will join us here in about 20 minutes. We'll get into the game tonight because I think a very similar thing might happen tonight and on Thursday, where you've played all season long. You have fought all season long. And you're going to ask your team to go and win 2 games that I think deep down they know they cannot win. And when you have that, that's a big problem. Now, the one benefit for the Pacers is that they're at home. The Oilers are on the road. Now, again, if we flip it, and Florida was down 3-2, and Florida was on the road, the Panthers have won 10 games. They're 10-3 on the road straight up this year in the playoffs. So I would go, okay, I mean, I think Florida believes that they're a good, but that's not what the case is for Edmonton. And I know Edmonton has played well on the road. They won game 1 and 2. They beat Vegas. They beat LA. I get that they have played well on the road in the playoffs. But this Florida team tonight, everyone going to that building tonight, they're expecting to see the Cup. The Cup's in the building, and there's going to be a huge belief system that the Panthers close it out tonight. Game 6 in the NBA Finals on Thursday. I don't think the Pacer fans going into there with the same attitude that, like, I know our team's going to win. We're expecting our team to win. It's more or less like cross your fingers and hope that they extend it to a game 7 because the Thunder don't lose at home. So that's the problem. Yeah, they lost game 1 at home. I'll give it to you. But, like, not going to happen consistently, not in a game-setting situation, and not with Jalen Williams playing like he played last night. And if Halliburton is hurt or misses any time whatsoever, I mean, he tried his best last night, but he really wasn't effective at all. If that's what's going to happen, good question. Pacers have more fight than the Oilers. Maybe. I mean, I'm going to be mad tonight, by the way. If this is like a 5-0 whipping tonight, I'll be angry. Like, I want to see some fight out of the Oilers. I don't want to see them lay down. For both series, I don't want to see the Pacers lay down and let the Thunder walk to a championship, and I don't want Florida to walk to a championship tonight either. I want to see, you played all year. Don't die. Just, if you get beat, you get beat, but don't give up. Keep going. Keep fighting, trying to find a way in. So I think there's a lot of really interesting things going down here. Joe Myers. Well, let me get into that later. He's asking about the guy with the ticket on what would you do with the parlay? He's got that huge parlay, but he has the Oilers to win it all. What would you do? So, yeah, I would agree. It feels like the fight was game 1-4 for the Oilers. I agree, Arctic. It does feel that way, both literally and figuratively. The fight. I mean, they fought. They fought, and they're going back to Skinner tonight. Let's see if that's the right decision for them to go back to Skinner tonight. It was Skinner, then it was Pickard. Now we're back to Skinner. Knobloch is just trying anything right now. He's just trying to. He's got the worst hand. He's got the team, the less talented team. He's got problems. His team won't stop taking penalties, and their penalty kill is awful. Like, it's just awful. So they're not killing penalties. They're taking bad penalties. They're giving up penalty power play goals, and it doesn't matter who's in net. So they got 2 goaltenders. Neither one can stop the puck. So like what do we do? From a Pacer perspective, this Thunder team, this has been the inevitability. This has been the refrain for this team for the better part of 6 months. Like, we've been talking about the Thunder since January about how good they are and why they are one of the 2 best teams. It was Boston and OKC, and then OKC played Boston and whipped them 2 times, and they became the odds-on favorite and never changed. It never, nobody else took that spot over OKC. They were the odds-on favorite to win, and they've been there, and they haven't done anything for us to say that they should not be the odds-on favorite to win it all. And they've gone through, I don't care about the path. We're going to hear it because people are going to be like, oh, well, it wasn't that hard of a path. Who cares what the path is? They won. Okay. They one more game. They win. They're your champ, period. Don't care about how they got there. I don't care how Boston got there last year. Don't care. Okay. And I'm wearing this championship hat for the Celtics number 18. It's still relative, but there's like my Celtics championship lid. I'll wear that tomorrow, and that'll be the last time it can be worn on the show, because on Thursday this thing's over and the Thunder are going to be your NBA champ. And I mean, maybe somehow, some way the Pacers were forced a game 7, but you could say anything happens in a game 7, except we know that the Pacers don't, the Thunder don't lose back-to-back games and they don't lose at home. So I would love to say I'm wrong. I love that I could be wrong here on this, but 2 games to win 1 for the Thunder, it sure feels like that series is over and the Thunder had a shot and they'll be looking at next year going, all right, what do we got to do to get over the hump? But that team in Oklahoma City, they're not going anywhere. In the West, that's why this Kevin Durant trade thing is so interesting, because where does he go? If he goes to the Rockets, that's wild. That's where I would send him. I mean, if I'm him, I want to go play for Ime Udoka, and I want to go play for that defensive-minded basketball team. Give me the ball. Get out of the way. I'll score. You guys play defense. Rockets could be a problem with Kevin Durant next year if he goes there. Spurs supposedly aren't interested, though, by the way, which is wild. I thought that they would be, given Wembanyama. I thought they would be interested in putting Kevin Durant with him, but they're not that active. The Heat are heavily involved. The Magic got Desmond Bane. Now the Heat want to go get Kevin Durant. Don't hate that from a Heat perspective to go get KD, but do the Suns have to trade him anywhere he wants to go? That's the question. They don't have to do any of that. They can do what they want. And right now he wants to play for 3 different teams. Timberwolves are involved and he doesn't want to go there. He's already letting it be known, I don't want to go play for the Timberwolves, even though they are interested. To baseball before we get to Alex B. Smith on the hockey game tonight. All right, Ohtani watch. It happens. It did happen. He did finally return to pitching last night for the Dodgers. Ohtani got up to 100 miles an hour on the mound up against the Padres, but he did give up a run early. So my Nerfy bet goes down. Sure, we can argue about balls and strikes and whether or not Machado went around and did he swing, and everyone says yes. I would say yes, but I'm biased, obviously. Sacrifice fly comes in. Ohtani gets out of the inning, and then they go on to a 6-3 win because Ohtani drove in 2 runs and was a major factor offensively for this Dodgers offense. But he hit 100, and having him come back throwing 100 in his first start, I kind of understand why the Dodgers were like, fine, you're going to go and rehab in real live games because we're not going to send you down to the minors and we need you to go and work and build up your arm strength, but you're throwing 100. So like you're throwing absolute cannons. So what do we do? Like we can't just have you be sitting here and we can't send you anywhere to go rehab because we need your bat in the lineup. So we have to find ways to work and keep you fresh and get the arm built up. But he was getting frustrated. So after watching him pitch last night, I kind of get it. Like the Dodgers probably were sitting there going, all right, look, he's not human. Like we can't just have him go do a rehab start. And these simulated games don't really do anything for him. He wants to do it in a real game. What's the harm? He's throwing 100 miles an hour. Let him go throw 100. So it was a rocky up and down. He wasn't sharp. He wasn't what he will be in a couple of weeks. And so he's going to work out some stuff. He's got to get his pitches back, right? But the fastball's the fastball. Like it's there. And after pitching yesterday, you have to wonder how he feels today, right? It's only an inning, but you wonder how he feels today because the Dodgers are big favorites against the Padres again today. And at the time before we went live, the Dodgers had not announced who the starting pitcher was going to be today for the second game of the series against the Padres. Guys in the chat, if it's been announced, let me know so I can find out who, and I'll put it up as to who the Dodgers are going to throw today against the Padres. But I mean, the guy's not human. Like we put this into the show because we started to have these like laughing conversations about every time we talk about Ohtani, it's the first time since or the first time ever. This has to be a first where a Major League Baseball starting pitcher is doing his rehab assignment in live games. Like, these are rehabs. This is what you do. You'd come down here to Vegas, like come to the AAA club, right? If you're rehabbing for the A's, you would come down here. In the first game, you throw 1 inning. In the second game, you throw 4 innings. And the third game, you throw a 5. And they go, okay, let's get your pitch count up to like 85 or so. And then we'll go back up on the big league club and you'll start going. And that happens over the course of like 15 days. like it is not a small thing. This is not like a 1 second, like, okay, yeah, you go to the minors, you stop for a second and you come back. That's not how this works. You're supposed to be down there for like a long time. He's doing it in the majors, in front of the world. So did yesterday go a little rocky? Yeah, of course it went a little rocky. Why? Because it's the first time he pitched in a Dodger uniform. So, Jack Dreyer's pitching for the Dodgers. Thank you, Santana. And good job out of you. Go ahead and pump that in there. Minus 575 to win the West. So I think I was saying that I was sensing panic from the Dodgers for starting Ohtani. And I was like, do they need him or do they want him? There's the whole thing. I get into my daughter all the time about need versus want. Like, do you want him to pitch or do you need him to pitch? I think it was a need. I think they need him to pitch given the injuries. But I also think that when they watched him do his simulated games, like anybody who's in, knows anything about baseball, like they're watching it and they're like, whoa, like, okay, yeah, we need him to pitch, but more than that, I want him to pitch. Like, get him out there. Look what he's doing. Look how good he is right now. You've got to give him a shot. Like, why would you not give him a shot to go out there and pitch? So that is going to be his second start. I'll be curious. Like, first start, a lot of pomp and circumstance, a lot of adrenaline. Let's see how he feels today. And then does he hit? Like, does it take away from his hitting? Because he's going to be, he'll be sore, like just any human. He had surgery. He's been rehabbing. He's out there. You're obviously going to pump it a bit more and throw harder because the adrenaline is rushing through your veins. So you're going to throw and overthrow a touch. So let's see what he is today. If he goes out there and, hits 2 more home runs or steals 2 more bases or whatever, and is typical Ohtani, that's huge. That would be gigantic for Major League Baseball or for the Dodgers for that matter, if he is. But that's always going to be the question. Again, you're doing your rehab, which means you are not ready to pitch in a Major League Baseball game while you're in Major League Baseball. It might take away for some of the other parts of his game the days after he pitches, but we'll see how that goes. All right, this morning, big article out on Yahoo Sports about Rafael Devers. The headline, inside the absolute bleep show that led the Boston Red Sox's trade of Rafael Devers. The blockbuster deal was the accumulation of eroded trust, fraying relationships, and a deeper breakdown instead of one of MLB's most visible franchises. Obviously not the type of headline that you want. June Lee is the author of this. June is a really talented Boston area scribe that's worked for a variety of different outlets, and he's very connected to the baseball world and to the Red Sox world. And he reported some things that have people shaking their heads about what happened with Rafael Devers and what led this trading of Rafael Devers to go down to the San Francisco Giants. There's 2 real big takeaways from the article for me. The first big takeaway from the article is the fact that the Red Sox again are having a big problem with leaks. For I don't know how many years, the Red Sox were an absolute like tabloid newspaper type of operation. Every day there was something new. In the wake of the 2004 championship and Terry Francona, eventually his departure, it was daily where the Red Sox were tar and feathering people on the way out the door. They would leak all sorts of crazy stuff, whether it's true or not, who knows, but Terry Francona and infidelity and Terry Francona and pills and all these different things, Manny Ramirez and his behavior. Like whenever somebody left, Kurt Schilling's a nutcase and a whack job, which kind of turned out to be true, but like all these different things that happened on the way out of Boston, the way that it leaked out and the planting of stories that happened, it was comical how often it happened. So the fact that it comes out, 48 hours after Rafael Devers is traded, that he was angry that when they asked him to play first base, like I talked about yesterday, they asked him to play first base, and Christian Campbell said, I'll do it. Because Rafi said, no, I'm not doing that. And Christian Campbell, who just signed a long-term deal to be a part of this organization, and Christian Campbell, who's one of the big three, Christian Campbell, Marcelo Meyer, and Roman Anthony are the big three prospects up with the big league club for the Red Sox. So the kid did what you want a young star to do. He went to the front office and said, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And so he started working out. And if you remember, this is a bit, I doubt anyone saw this besides Red Sox fans, but like Red Sox fans saw video because they had Christian Campbell working out in front of the media. The Red Sox put Christian Campbell and said, okay, Rafi, you don't want to do it? Great. We're going to have Campbell work out not behind closed doors. We're not going to have Campbell do this when no one's watching. We're going to let the Red Sox fans see that this kid will do what you won't do. And that infuriated Rafael Devers. I get it. It showed him up on purpose. But there's like two ways to deal with that, right? Like the first way is, okay, you guys suck. I don't like any of you. The other way would be to go, well, I'm the highest paid player on this team. I'm the face of the franchise. And this kid's willing to do what I'm not willing to do. Maybe it's a me problem. Maybe I need to change. Maybe I should come around. Maybe I'm the one that should do that. So that didn't happen. Like that did not happen. The other interesting takeaway from the article is that the Red Sox front office, oh boy, okay. Craig Breslow is out here today trying to knock down what's being reported in this article about his isolation. He has a problem with Yahoo Sports is claiming that Craig Breslow is becoming more and more, he's the head of baseball operations for the Red Sox, that he's becoming more and more isolated, and there's not as many people in the baseball day-to-day like there used to be, that Breslow brought in an efficiency expert, kind of like Doge, brought in this efficiency expert to come in and say where they can trim the fat. And so they started firing a bunch of people. And as they were going through all of this, one of the head scouts for the Red Sox that had been with the team since 2017 thought that a Zoom call had ended, and he insulted Breslow, called him a bleeping stiff, and Breslow heard it and fired him. Now, I don't blame Breslow for firing him. Okay. I mean, if you're a boss and somebody decides to say something to you, yeah, you're going to get fired. Okay. That's what's going to happen. And so that is, I don't know how abnormal that is, but it shows you that there's definitely a lack of respect from people underneath Craig Breslow, that not everybody's on board. Not everyone's loving what he has done, but that just comes from a change. You're changing culture, changing direction. You're changing the way things have been done. And I can't really say I hate what Craig Breslow has done so far. He's only 2 years on the job. So let's see where Craig Breslow goes with the team and how things look going forward. Right now, the jury's out. He just traded a massive star, and Red Sox fans are furious about it. I'm not one of them. I'm not furious. But CBW, David Ortiz basically backed you up with this. I mean, David Ortiz said that you work for somebody and you can't go ahead and do whatever you want. They told you what to do and you said no, and then you get traded. Ortiz basically said yesterday, what do you expect? That's his boy. I mean, Ortiz, he was the one that was supposed to reach out to Rafael Devers to get him on board to be the full-time DH. That's what, I mean, David Ortiz, what he did, I mean, becoming a Red Sox legend doing that. And Devers wanted no part of that. And Devers clearly did not really want Poppy to talk much about it because everyone thought Poppy might side with Devers. Oh, no. David Ortiz sided with the Red Sox in a big way yesterday and said, I have a lifetime contract. I mean, I get paid. I'm loved there for a reason. So like, it's wild to see the media fight going on, but both sides are sort of gearing up. And as I think someone said in the chat, you have a 2:30. Yeah, thank you. 2:30 press conference, 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 on the West Coast for the Giants. Intro press conference for Rafael Devers. Giants fans are ecstatic, as they should be ecstatic about this. One more thing, and then we'll get to Alex talking about tonight's Game 6 of the Cup final. Are Boston fans more upset about the return? They are, but I think that's because Boston fans are myopic. And my answer to anybody who's mad about the return is the return could have been a bag of balls. They weren't interested in the return. Now, could Jordan Hicks turn out to be something? Sure. Could Harrison find something great at AAA? Okay. The two prospects that they got both sound like decent prospects that they got coming back. They got out from underneath a $250+ million contract. That's all they were trying to do. So you could say it's a salary dump, and there's some reality to that. I'm not going to lie about that. But it was more about getting rid of Devers. They knew they were committed for 8 more years. I'm a guy who got divorced. I know what that feels like when you're tied to somebody that you don't want to be married to, and you're like, how many more years? I want out. Like, I got to get out. That's what Craig Breslow did. He divorced the Red Sox from Rafael Devers. So the Giants supposedly, and he said it yesterday at the press conference, supposedly another team was offering a better return, but they weren't going to pay the full freight of the contract. And they said, no. We're not paying Rafael Devers another dime. This was personal. When the owner flies to Kansas City to sit down with you and ask you to do what's in the best interest of the franchise, and you tell the guy no, and he's writing you a check for $313 million to play a kid's sport, and you say, I'm not going to play first base, I'm not going to play third base. No, you asked me to be a DH, I'm a DH. And you sit in the corner sucking your thumb. That's it. Like, that's it. So the return to me is the fact that the team has $250 million to play with. They know that. John Henry knows that. So what they do with it will be very questioned. There's no debate on that. They're going to question him. If he doesn't spend it at all, okay, then Red Sox fans will have a chance to, I think, to really comment. But it's too early to comment as to what the Red Sox do with the financial flexibility that they got. They just wanted to get rid of the dude. They just wanted him gone. They wanted nothing to do with him. They wanted him out. And I have a hard time defending Rafael Devers. He made the bed. He played chicken and lost. Okay. Maybe he wants to be in California. Maybe he wants to be with the Giants. Okay. Maybe he's going to be way happier and he'll be like, I got out of here. Screw all you. Okay. Went to a good organization, championship aspirations. So not a bad place to land. But if he thought he was going to be in Boston his whole career, and he thought he was going to be a Red Sox for the next 8 seasons, he had a weird way of showing it, and he found himself sent packing by the Red Sox. They did not even get him a car. They put him in a cab. They pulled him off the plane, and they put him in a Boston City cab back to Fenway Park. Just to give you an idea how the Red Sox felt about Rafael Devers. They were not doing him any favors. All right, tonight, the Cup's in the building. Will the Panthers win their second consecutive Stanley Cup championship? Let's talk to Alex B. Smith about this here on the Bostonian versus the Book. Alex, thanks for coming on. How are you?
Doing good. Good to finally be on here.
So, and you've been in the chat before. I see you in the chat now. I appreciate you doing all that. It's really nice of you to just kind of get involved and being a part of it.
Yeah.
Tonight, what do you expect out of the Oilers from an effort standpoint? Because I don't know what that was in Game 5, but if they do it again, they're going to get killed tonight in Game 6. What's the effort level tonight for Edmonton?
I would expect the empty the tank, honestly. I mean, that's what you have to do in this situation. And we've seen the resiliency of this Oilers team over the last several years. But obviously, you think back to this time last year where they were down 3-0 in the Cup final, fall all the way back to force a Game 7. So we know this is a group and a core group that can certainly get their team back into the fold and make this a winner-take-all series. That's what they have to do. But they have to empty the tank, and they're playing a much tougher Florida team than they saw a year ago, a team that we've seen grow before our eyes from round to round, game to game. They're one of those teams that just gets better and better as the series and as the postseason where it goes on.
Alex, the decision to start Pickard in Game 5 and now the flipping to have now go back to Skinner for Game 6. Where were you on Calvin Skinner on Calvin Pickard playing Game 5? Would you have played Skinner in Game 5, and are you good with the flip flop back here in Game 6?
We've seen Knobloch.
Sorry, you muted yourself. You're good now.
Oh, okay, yeah. We've seen Knobloch, do a very good job the last two postseasons of going between these two particular goalies. Go all the way back to that series against Vancouver, where we saw Skinner kind of, have a shaky effort. They go to Calvin Pickard, but then they go right back to Skinner for those closeout games. His numbers don't lie. When you look at the games 4 through 7, he's one of the better goaltenders in the league. The effort is the issue is the effort around him, and so you have to rely on Skinner now in this closeout spot. Because at the end of the day, you get to a Game 6, or even if you get to a Game 7, and you don't have your best guy out there, how is this guy going to stick around with this team? How is it possible if you don't trust him in the biggest moments of the entire season? This is it. This is your chance to win the championship. You don't trust him here. You don't trust him in any spot. So you got to ride with the guy that has taken you this far. And I don't see anything wrong with it, and I wouldn't have seen anything wrong with riding the guy who had won 7 games in a row before suffering his first loss either.
Yeah, I was good with the decision. I would have played Pickard. I mean, the way he came in and played in the second, third, and overtime in Game 4, I was comfortable saying, you know what, I'd start him in Game 5. I don't know if they lost the game because of him, but
no,
they lost the game 5-2.
Yeah.
How does this game play out tonight from the total perspective? Because we're 5-0 to the over. I thought for sure that game in Game 5, it was 2-0 in the third period. I was like, okay, we get the under game. Nope, 5-2 final. How does tonight play out?
I think we're going to see an over, but I think this is one that creeps over. I wouldn't be rushing to grab over 6.5 now. Me and the IceGuys, we're doing a live bet cast tonight. We'll be live streaming and live betting during the game. This is one I'll be waiting for. I'll be waiting. Maybe we see this be a 1-0 first period, and then we can kind of try and grab a 5.5, maybe even a 4.5, depending on how that pace goes, and then we can kind of jump on that. But I could see it climbing over 5.5. I actually said 5-3 Florida. That was my initial just gut reaction to a final score, because I do think we see goals late. I like Florida to win the series. Going all the way back before the series started, I had Florida 4-2 exact at plus 450. So it's in spot to cash that ticket. And I just felt like we were going to see what we've seen in games 4 and 5. I felt like we were going to see the absolute best effort from Edmonton in that Game 4, because I trusted in the zigzag through the first 4 games. Then in Game 5, we're seeing Florida use the best of their abilities. Like I said, overwhelming with offense, quality shot selection, keeping Edmonton. If you look at their shot chart, all their shots seem like they came from the outside, nothing in the circles, nothing close and nothing in deep into the offensive zone. And that's Florida's bread and butter. And now they get a chance to do that at home and close it out for a second straight year.
Alex, if you and the IceGuys had a Conn Smythe vote, how live is Brad Marchand to win the Conn Smythe in your mind?
Very live, especially if he can have a big game tonight. Now, obviously Bennett has done a tremendous job, and when you have the most goals, that certainly looks favorable upon the mass of the voters. But with Marchand, with what he's done, right, it's incredible. Every GM dreams of having a Brad Marchand kind of pickup, right, where you go and get a guy who's battle tested and proven. He comes into your team, he fits into any role you need him to play, and produces. Like that's what the trade deadline's all about, is let's get this guy, this added piece to make our team better. And so he is filling that role as best as I've probably ever seen. I'm 36. It's all the hockey that I've watched. I don't think I've ever seen a deadline move produce as much as Brad Marchand this particular year. So I think that might count for something. If he can have a big game tonight, help them close it out, he's going to be the second guy to get the cup in his hand. He might be getting another trophy as well.
unbelievable if that ends up happening. I'm a Bruins guy, so
Yeah.
seeing him go to the Panthers is like, ouch.
I get
Okay,
it.
that was tough, but I'm happy for him if he winds up doing that and winning the cup, and he very well might win the Conn Smythe. Where does he play next year? Is he staying in Florida or is he going to the highest bidder?
I mean, I don't see him really just kind of trying to float around. I could see him staying in Florida and playing 1 or 2 more years and then just kind of riding it out because he was, like you said, such a Boston guy. It seemed unfathomable. I'm a Hawks fan, but it just seems so weird to see Brad Marchand in another jersey that's not the black and yellow. So I don't see him being a guy that's jumping around from team to team like Corey Perry trying to chase for championships. I think he's going to be a guy he's found his place here with Florida, and then he can ride it out and wrap up his career there.
If you're Bobrovsky tonight, what type of game do you think he has tonight? Because if it's 5-3, is this a game in which we see just kind of like fluky goals come in for the Oilers late and the game was already decided? Or is it like 3-3 going into the third and it's a tight game and Florida just outlasts the Oilers in the third period?
No, I think we're going to see good Bobrovsky tonight. And I think the three, like I said, I said 5-3. I think the 3 goals that beat him are going to be goals that could probably beat any goalie. In my opinion, I don't think it's going to be a lot of fluky, and I don't think it's going to be a lot of fluky goals given up by Skinner either. I think this is going to be a hard-fought game as far as the goals go. And like I said, we know we're going to see the best of Florida's defense, and that's got to be the crucial part for Bobrovsky. And he's made big-time saves. He's done his job in spades throughout this postseason. But for those defensemen in front of him, to continue to, like I said, keeping those forwards, keeping the quality shots at bay with Edmonton, keeping those guys to the outside and away from the circles, away from setting up deep and making clean passes. That's how you beat Edmonton. They've done a good job of it so far. They just got one more game to do it.
Alex, anything in the prop market you guys have looked to attack? I played over saves on Bobrovsky at 24.5, 25.5, 26.5, 27.5, and then finally it got to 27.5, and it burned me in the last game. It was not even close. Both goaltenders way under their save props. But what does tonight look like? Do you like a save prop tonight or a different prop that you're looking at to play?
Well, I know some of the guys that are on our show, like shout out to Perrault Wisdom, a guy who comes in a couple of times a week. He loves doing blocked shot parlays, so he'll tie in a lot of different defensemen, Nate Schmidt, Jake Wallman, guys of that nature. Look for and ladder those over 1.5, over 2.5 block shots. I don't really look at that market too much. I'm more of a goal scorer prop kind of guy. So a couple of goal scorers that I like tonight. I like Aaron Ekblad plus 700. Anytime goal scorer. I think we see him getting a shot for point. We've seen defensemen getting involved in the offense for Florida all postseason long. Seth Jones has been on the board with a goal. We've seen Nate Schmidt get a goal. I think, of course, Gustav Forsling. He's really the lifeblood of that offense in crucial times on that back end. So Aaron Ekblad has been a long time Florida Panther. I like for him to get on the board at a 7-1.
Power plays have been such a big problem for the kill for the Oilers. They're killing it at under 90%, right? Like 89% power play kill. Not great at all. We think most series, as we get to game 6 and game 7, the referees put their whistles away and the guys get to go play. But this has been such a physical series. I'm not sure they're comfortable doing that because they could wind up getting a really nasty situation. Are we getting power plays tonight?
I think we are. And like I said, the refs know they can't afford to kind of let this up like you would see in the normal game 6 and game 7. I was actually reading a quote yesterday on Twitter where they were saying that, just kind of bystander accounts said this is one of the nastiest, chippiest cup finals that they've seen and heard from a long time. That the trash talk has been high, and it makes sense when these guys have played. Now this will be game 13. If you look back at last year's 7 games and now heading into the 6, so and a lot of animosity. And when you're a team like Florida that plays under people's skin and you play that agitator style all the time, and you're Edmonton, this team's been standing in your way for over a year, and that breeds hatred, that breeds animosity, and it breeds great hockey.
Yeah. So Alex, that's where I wanted to go because here we are. If I agree with you, I'm on Florida money line in regulation. If McDavid has dropped back-to-back cups to Florida, where is the legacy going for Connor McDavid?
Well, that's a really interesting question because I am of the ilk that believes that while he is a very talented player, and we know he possesses the greatest set of combined skills of any one single individual in the NHL. But you can't put him in that stratosphere of a Sidney Crosby, or even you go down the list of guys like a Patrick Kane, for example. These guys have won championships. They've led their team in big time spots. They've been clutch, big time players. And for what McDavid has done through these regular seasons, and we've seen him put the team on his back. And yes, we can talk about how he didn't have any other, assorted cast members other than Leon Draisaitl. But at the end of the day, when you look at the cover, he's got that one Conn Smythe that they almost gave him out of pity. Damn near, it seems like he played his ass off in the whole series, in the whole season. But at the end of the day, it wasn't enough for him to get the Holy Grail. And if he comes up short here again, you have to ask yourself, where does he rank and stand? You talk about Lemieux, you talk about Gretzky. Those guys won. Lemieux never lost the Cup final. You know what I'm saying? So how are we gonna put his name in that conversation? He needs to win and deliver to be in that conversation. So a lot of people want to throw him into that GOAT category. I say not so fast, my friend. And this would certainly be another blemish if he cannot pull it out here within the next 2 games.
I'll be honest, Alex. 1993 was a long time ago. And the fact that the Canadian Cup return did not happen this year, or at least you and I both think it won't happen because tonight the Florida Panthers win.
Right.
When do they win the Cup? Like, this was their best shot, was it not?
It was, but as many teams that were in, and when you looked at Toronto's situation, and that's so unfortunate, right? And I'm not trying to pick on it on the Leafs. It was very unfortunate. A healthy Anthony Stolarz, and we could be talking about Toronto being in the spot that Florida's in right now. So,
okay,
that's the wild thing. This could have ended. This could have ended this year, but if it doesn't end now, I don't know when it is. I don't know. I mean, Edmonton's not going to blow things up. There's still teams, Ottawa's on the rise. Montreal's on the rise. Winnipeg will still be there. So maybe next year, but I don't think it happens this year.
It feels like that's the refrain every year. Maybe next year.
Yeah,
maybe next
it
year.
is. It is.
Since I was in high school. Since I was in high school, it's been the refrain of Canadian fans all Canada. Maybe next year. Maybe next year. Whitrock says that Lord Stanley is now an American citizen, which I don't think he's actually wrong.
Pretty much.
How are your Blackhawks going to look like next year? I saw a game a couple of years left this season, but last season I went and saw the kid in person. He was tiny as a rookie. He's getting bigger, obviously, putting on some weight. But where are the Blackhawks headed?
Well, slowly but surely moving up, and I do like the progress that has happened. I like how the season ended. I love the acquisition of Spencer Knight. This team now finally has a bona fide number 1 goalie for the first time, arguably since Corey Crawford, and that is massive, especially when you've been talking about a blue line that has been rotating and a lot of youngsters. So there's just a lot of growth and development with this Hawks team. And I think the guy to really watch out for, I know everybody's going to talk about Connor Bedard, but Frank Nazar, who had a fantastic showing at the World Championships, his game has really grown. I think he might end up being the top goal scorer and the top guy, the go-to guy for the Hawks moving forward. So I really like where things are. I'm really excited to see what Blashill does. Michael Pekka, the assistant coach that's brought in now to work on that defense and that penalty kill, he can clean things up on that back end. We should definitely see the progress with the offense, and this will be a more competitive Hawks team than we've seen over the recent years.
You're building, and I know it's known so much for basketball, but the United Center for Hockey is a hell of a building. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean,
the sight lines are incredible.
Yeah. The Madhouse on Madison is a wonderful place, especially when it's packed. When it gets up to 22,000 strong, the anthem is rocking, and like I said, it's not the old barn from way back in the day, but it is still one of the better environments in the NHL for sure. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's really fun. Alex, this was a ton of fun. On the way out, tell everybody where they can go and watch the live stream and get your stuff. We're both in agreement here tonight. Cup gets awarded to the Panthers, but if they want to watch you guys talk about it and bet it live, how can they do so?
Yes, check out patreon.com/IceGuys. That is it is a $10 subscription for that, but we will be streaming through the YouTube channels and watching the game, betting live along with that. And then should the series end now, then we'll be talking tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, on our YouTube channel, the Ice Guys. That'll be a live show, and that'll be our finale for the year. We'll be wrapping up everything and saying our farewells, hopefully.
Good stuff. Alex, thank you for the time. Great to have you on. We'll have you back on when Dave's with us. We'll both do it all together. Really appreciate your time today.
Wonderful. Sounds good, Matt. Take it easy.
Good stuff there. Talking hockey here. Cup final tonight. You guys can watch the Ice Guys. Go ahead and do that. We've been wanting to get Alex on for a while, so it was really cool to get him on the program talking hockey with us, and we'll get him back on when Dave's back as well, because I know Dave wanted to talk to him before too, so we've been looking to get him on talking NHL. 5-3 final. Alex likes it. 5-3 final tonight for that, so I think that's not a crazy final. It's another over, obviously, which is like, we're going back to another over. That would be remarkable to see every game in this series all. I don't know if I go 5-3. That's high, but how do you bet under? Like, how in the heck do you bet under? It's impossible to bet under in this series, given the goaltending, given the power plays. It's why I asked Alex about the power plays. You look at the power plays. If they get them, we're getting offense. We're getting scores. Like, it's just, that's what we're getting. And the 6.5 is just like, you can't do anything with it. Like, every game, even today, I'm hearing it today. Today's the under game. Today is the under game. Here is what we're going to happen. These teams are going to battle. These teams are going to grind. We're not going to see the same calls. We're not going to see power plays. Well, they hate each other. So the refs know this. So if you're going to allow Marchand and company, if you're going to allow Kane and company to get under the skin of the other team, you're going to have fights. Now, I'm not anti-fighting. I like fighting. I think it's great for hockey. But I think the NHL is worried about it. And I think they're worried about the violence, and they're worried about it not being a hockey game, but instead it's going to be, yeah, you beat us, but I'm going to beat your ass. So, and it turns into not a hockey game. There was a sports league. Bare knuckle fighting, by the way, has just started the first ever hockey fight league. Legitimately. It's a professional fighting league on ice. So they've already got that. So they don't want that again. They don't want that tonight in Florida. They want to see hockey, and they want to see good hockey. And people, again, I don't know why they're not watching this series. I don't know what you want. You've had 3 overtime games. I don't think we get another overtime game, but give me your score, guys. Go ahead and predict it. What's the score tonight? You guys, is anyone going under? Is anyone going under? Oh, did I freeze, Sonic? Oh, sorry about that. If that happens, I apologize. I don't know why it freezes, but happens once in a while. 4-3. Give me your score, guys, tonight. What do you think? I'm kind of on that same tip as a 4-3 final. I think we get at least 4 goals out of Florida. I could go 5-3. Ooh, 3-2. 3-2 Florida. That's surprising. Because here's the problem for me. How many open net goals are you getting? Because if you're picking Florida to win, Florida's winning at some point. So what you're saying is it's 2-2, and then we get the late goal. But how late is that 3-2 goal going to be scored? That goal's got to get scored like with 2 minutes left for it not to be there. Yeah, this is where I'm leaning. 5-2, 4-2. I don't know if I'm going 7-2. 3 empty nets, 3 of them. But no, I'm with Zach. This is my score. My score is no. Sorry, my score is 4-2 Florida, not 4-2 Edmonton. My score is 4-2 Florida. That's so. I think today could be the under game, but I am not betting it. Like, that's Looney Tunes. Like, to sit there and say that you're going to bet the under and you're going to be holding an under ticket. By the second period, you might be kicking yourself going, what in the heck made me bet the under? Like, I can't recommend it. I can't bet it. It doesn't equate. Like, it doesn't line up as a logical thing to go, yeah, let's bet the under in a game that every game's gone over. Even the blowout games have gone over. Last game, blowout, game over. It was 2-0 in the third period. Still went over. 5 goals in the third period. So, like Alex said, if you want to play the over or you want to play a total bet, I actually think it's a pretty good idea to wait. And maybe you get a low-scoring first period. Maybe you get Skinner, a sharp version of Skinner in the first period. Maybe it's 1-0 after 1 or 0-0 after 1, and you get a 4.5 live. Then I'd dive in. Like, then I'd go ahead. I would dive head first. 5-3 Oilers. That's the same. 5-3 Oilers. Wow. 5 goals for the Oilers. 5-4 Edmonton. 4-3 Edmonton. Okay. So you guys are thinking we're getting a game 7. Okay. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. I also, well, I don't know how to do better to book it without Dave. It's sort of, it doesn't feel right to do it, but I want to give you guys the plays. So until I figure out something better to call it until later, it is better. All right. So here's how I'm playing it. I'm just playing Florida in regulation. I think Florida is going to win tonight, and I don't want to get involved with the puck line, but I also don't want to lay 140, 150. I'm not really interested in laying that type of juice here. So I think in 60 is a good play for the Panthers to win the cup. And it doesn't matter if it goes over or goes under. We just go ahead and lay it. Panthers in regulation, minus 110, 1.1 units down on it for that. And I think you'll see the Panthers win this tonight. And then it also protects a little bit if we're wrong on the total and it does turn into like a 3-2 win for Florida, then it's okay. Then we've covered ourselves and we're not worried about it. I don't think we're seeing overtime. Why? Because I do think we're getting Florida goals. How many open net goals are we getting? At least one. And I think someone put it in the chat. It's plus 110 for open net goals. I think you're getting open net tonight. At least one, if not more, right? If it's 3-1 or 3-0 in the third period, what the Oilers are going to pull and just, you're going to have open season. You're going to fire a million shots at the net, which is, I mean, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's what you're supposed to do. If you're the Oilers, you're trying to extend your season. What does it matter if you lose 7-1 or 2-1? I mean, a loss is a loss. So I do think that they're going to get 4 goals or more. I got plus money on it last night at plus 106. And I do think that we're going to see Austin. It could end 2-1. It's possible. It could be. See, here's the funny thing, Chef Benny, with that. So we're going to bring back pushing the odds stuff when I'm hosting solo. So we're going to bring back what I did to start this show. The opening line will be part of the show. I don't know how to bring back Just the Picks. The only reason why I'm laughing about this is because I was talking about this last night about what to do with Just the Picks in some form or fashion, because Just the Picks is the only thing that I've ever been a part of that a listener wrote the theme song and then gave it to me, licensed it to me to use. I had never licensed my own song before, but a kid named Tim Halliburton, who is, you can go look him up on YouTube. He's a really talented musician. He had a lot of really cool tracks, has written some songs for big artists. He listened to the Daily Juice, but also Just the Picks. And he said, I want you to use one of my songs. If you want, here, go through all. I've written a song that is a sports themed song, and I want you to use it. So the only reason why I would bring back Just the Picks to bring it back for the show until we get back to Better to Book It is for that reason, because I would be able to use that song again and use a 10-second clip of that song, which would be pretty cool. Ooh, it's plus money now for Florida in regulation. Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I like that. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. I am still going to do this, even though we don't have Dave. I still think prop of the day works. The BvB prop bet of the day, Brendan Lowe of the Rays. We're going to look at him and we're going to jump in with him over 1.5 bases. He's on fire. 5 straight games he has hit this prop. 1.5, a half, or 1.5 bases. He's hit this in 5 straight games. The last time he missed it was against the Red Sox back on the 10th of June. Over 1.5 is plus money. This is an Oriole team with Dean Kremer on the mound for Baltimore that I don't like Baltimore at all on this. This, I think, has a real good shot with plus money. He gets a double, and we're good. Remember, walks don't count for bases, okay? So I always misspeak this guy's. I want to say Brandon Lau, but I believe it's bet both lows. Yeah, bet. Bet them both. Yeah, okay. You can bet them both. I think over 1.5 bases, he's hot. So 5 straight games are going over his prop. It's been either 1.5 or it's been a half. And against the Mets, it was all a half a base. He went over all of it. Last game against Baltimore last night, it was 1.5. He got 5 total bases last night. Had 2 hits, a home run, and 2 RBIs. So 1 single, 1 home run, 5 total bases. So Brendan Lowe for the Rays, total bases is our prop bet of the day for you guys to go ahead and jump in on that. All right, let's reset this up because I'm really excited to talk to Pat Vendetti, and I have to ask him, have I been saying his last name wrong the entire time? I've known him for 20 years. This is kind of nuts if I've been saying his last name wrong. I really hope I haven't, but if you guys you missed the beginning part of the show where I told you about this. This is 3 stages of Pat Vendetti's career. Far right is the Creighton Blue Jay era, which is when I met him and he was a college pitcher. Then he became the first ambidextrous pitcher in Major League Baseball history with the Oakland A's. When he was with the minors, with the Yankees, when he was drafted, he had rules be rewritten in Major League Baseball. And then he pitched with the Savannah Bananas in 2024 to come on and help us talk about all of this and get into baseball, the College World Series. What's it like to be a pitcher in college or a foreign pitcher in college, and look at how the world has completely changed in the college world from a NIL perspective and everything else. Let's talk to a guy I've been wanting to have on the program for quite a long time. He is Pat Vendetti, joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book. Matt Perrault, man, how are you? Good to see you. Uh-oh. You're muted. We have to unmute you. Can I unmute you? I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself. No? Hold on. We need audio. It may be on your settings in your computer. So go ahead and do that. And we'll see if we can get Pat on. So on this. Uh-oh. Wait. Nope. Still unmuted. That's going to be, we got to fix the mic on this. Live TV is fun. I'll just tell your story. You try to fix it. I'll keep on telling your story.
I think we got it.
Yay! You sound great.
I had a Shure mic here. It's not working. So we're just going with some computer audio here.
Easy. Make sure it all works. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Great to see you. Before we start, and I'm watching all these videos and I'm prepping myself going like, I haven't talked to Pat in so long. Have I been saying your last name wrong the entire time?
Hit me with it.
Because I say Pat Vendetti.
No, that's it.
And I've been hearing Pat Venditte.
So, yeah, I mean, over the years, and even in the big leagues, I'll watch games, and Venditte was what they would call me. I had teammates, my good friend Chris Gradeville.
Yes.
He called me Venditte even, up until a couple of years ago. So I'll just answer to either. I mean, Vendetti, I guess, is the pronunciation, but
we're Italians. I mean, come on. You gotta. It's like, wait a minute. Like, gotta have the Italian heritage going on here.
There were some changes along the way, so I'm sure it's had every iteration. So whatever they call me, I'll respond to. It's close enough.
All right. What is life like now for a former major league pitcher who can throw with both hands? What have you been up to?
So you know what? About a week after I figured out that baseball was going to be over for me in 2021, I've started a new role in technology, and I've been doing this for 4 years. And I had given the company my word that, once I agreed to the job that, baseball was no longer going to be an option. And sure enough, day 2 on the job, I was out on the golf course with my new boss, and a phone call came from the Dodgers asking me to go to their remote training site because this is still during COVID times.
Yeah,
they wanted me to go to UCLA. And I mean, I hung up the phone. He's like, yeah, just go do it. I'm like, no, I gave my word. That's it. But at the end of the day, I would have came home as a 36-year-old in the same type of a role, not making enough to never have to work again. I could have had another 10 years and I was going to still have to have another career, past baseball. Being a middle reliever, you're on the minimum. So I just felt that with the 3 kids we had at home, it was time to get into something else. So right now I'm coaching 8U baseball. We got a T-ball game tonight for my 4- and 6-year-old daughters. So it's still quite a bit of baseball.
All right. Your dad taught you famously how to pitch with your left hand after breaking your right arm. Does this roll downhill? Like, is it the next generation? Are we seeing an ambidextrous second generation?
So there was no arm break. That was an old tale that somehow got crafted along the way. There was no arm break. That was just my dad having some creative, genius there to try something a little different that had never been done before. But with that, so I had, 32 years of extensive baseball training, pitching both left and right-handed. By the time I started when I was 3 years old up until when I was 35, almost 36, and I was done. And you need too much to go right for that to work. And I think with the knowledge that I have from a training perspective, it'll be much more efficient if we can just optimize my son from his God-given natural right side.
Okay, let's tell the story because I think it really is wild. Walk us through what practice was like with your dad when you guys were developing both sides. Like, how did he cultivate the ability that you brought to Major League Baseball with being both a right-handed and left-handed pitcher at the highest level?
So it was just more than anything repetition. And he didn't have a playbook. He didn't have any type of specific training stuff. We would throw the football both left and right-handed, kick the football left and right-footed. I couldn't do it. I still can't do it to this day. If I go to throw a football left-handed, it looks like anybody else that can't throw a football left-handed trying to throw it. So there was no playbook other than just repetition. This is long before any of the training stuff that's out there today, as far as the explosive training and the long toss we kind of got into once I get into high school. And that was the biggest thing. We would, hit Omaha Central High School back when they had their old turf field before school started at 6 a.m. most days of the week, building that arm strength. And it was just a lot of time. And then by the time I got into pro ball, I had plenty of other coaches to show me different arm slots and grips and, different ways to spin the baseball. There was a lot of people that had their footprint on it, but that was it.
Did Ed Service ever say, your college coach at Creighton, did he ever say, hey, let's not do this, let's just focus on one side? Did anybody at that level, at the college level, when they were recruiting you, come in and say like, hey, I like you, but forget this double arm stuff, I want only one side?
From the time I walked on at Creighton there, Coach Service had always said that it was going to be up to me to prove that I could pitch both left and right-handed. And I had a pretty good fall my freshman year to the point where I made the travel roster. And then I had one of those nightmare first college appearances. We were playing University of Texas, San Antonio, or not. It wasn't even UTSA. It was one of the Texas schools way down south. I think we were in Brownsville, Texas.
Okay.
And there was 4 people at the game that day, my first college outing. And I think I beamed the first guy face left-handed, walked the next guy on 4 straight, and then threw away a comebacker. So from that point on, there wasn't much confidence that I could switch. So I spent the next year building that confidence back up within him. And Coach Wyckoff there had dropped me down sidearm left-handed. And really getting sidearm left-handed was just a natural slot. And then I got a double-jointed left middle finger that helps me spin the baseball more so on my right. So like my right slider, I would throw off of my index finger. Jesse Chavez taught me how to do that when I was like 34, bought me 33. I think he bought me an extra couple of years because my right-handed slider was just scuffling. And I had never thought to straddle the seam and throw it off the index finger. That bought me some more time, but that left middle finger just made things very, very easy.
What happened to the 6-finger glove? Did you guys patent it? What happened to it?
That was already made. So Mizuno had already made that in 1991 for Greg Harris. I had my first version of that in 92. And then if you look on TV today, you will see numerous companies have kind of modified that design or maybe just flat out use that same design. There's a current switch pitcher right now for the Mariners. I saw he was wearing a Nike version of it, but it looked very, very similar to my Mizuno model.
Wow. He's not up yet though. He's in what level is he at? He
was the 15th overall pick last year.
Oh my.
He got over $5 million.
Okay. Well, that was going to be my next question, because do you ever look at the NIL deals that the kids are getting right now and go, I was an anomaly. I could have done so many commercials if I was allowed to do commercials.
I think I could have gotten some free lunch around Omaha, but I don't know what the market would have been like for Creighton baseball players back then.
I don't know, man. You were doing radio appearances. We knew all about you. Like, we loved watching you. We're like, this story is incredible. I mean, Rob Anderson of Creighton could have been out there telling the world about this. So I think you're selling yourself short there on that. But
from a self-promotion standpoint, I think I wish, looking back, I would have been more into that type of stuff. But Coach Service a little bit. That was just the last thing that any of us were taught to do. And then I go from there to the Yankees, to where literally the first day we were drafted by them, we got huddled into a classroom and would have media trainings twice a week on exactly what to tell the media. And they would replay bad interviews by guys who were still in the system and said, this is what you don't do. So, it's a different time now. We're talking 20 years down the road. And I wish I would have been able to give people a better look into what my life was like, going 8 dudes deep in a Trenton, New Jersey apartment, and then going to play winter ball in Mexico, Venezuela, the Dominican Republic. I had so many cool life experiences that nobody else got to see because I wasn't sharing it. And that is the one thing I wish I would have been a little bit better about.
All right, so you go to the minors with the Yankees, and the famous clip is of a switch hitting hitter not declaring, waiting for you to declare. He declared, and then you would switch to a right from a left and vice versa, and then he would go back to the other side. What was that moment like for you? Because the rule hadn't been put in place yet when a switch hitter's coming up, going back and forth, and you're going, okay, I'll go righty. They went lefty and vice versa. What was that like looking back on it?
So that was, I was with Staten Island. So we had just gotten drafted, the group of us that were playing on that short season team. We were playing the Brooklyn Cyclones. So we were playing on Coney Island that night, a great little atmosphere for minor league baseball. There was no rule in place. So our coordinator was in town, Pat Rossler, who's now still on the bench with the Yankees, however many years later, said, hey, just keep going back and forth till they make you do something. And I was so locked in on pitching well that night because in my head, I only had a few opportunities to show them that I was going to be a worthwhile asset to them. I was a 20th round senior sign. So I was just so locked into just doing well that night. I wasn't processing a whole lot of the stuff going on the side. And now that I can go back and watch it, I'm like, oh my goodness, this had to just be an absolute circus. But in my head, it was just another baseball game that we got past. And luckily we were on TV that night. The Mets game got rained out. So SNY picked up our game. We were taking the bus back from Brooklyn to Staten Island, and my phone in 2008, which was not as, Twitter wasn't as popular or Instagram or anything like that. But my phone was just blowing up that night because all the clip was all over SportsCenter and all those other things.
Is it wild to know that you were part of making history in Major League Baseball, that you're part of a rule that had to be rewritten because of what you were capable of doing?
I did not care about that 1 ounce, like while I was playing. But yeah, now that I'm done and I just see, okay, there's not a ton of Major League Baseball players, but there's quite a few going around to have a unique mark on the game. I'm very grateful for that. It's pretty cool.
Did they get it right? The rule, are you happy with the way that they wrote the rule afterwards?
Of course not. Just because of the matchup advantages I lost out on. And if you look, especially in the major leagues, my switch hitter splits were awful. Left-handers, I want to say ended up close to the 200 mark, maybe a little over. Righties a little above that. But then the switch hitters were, I think, either over 400 or right at that 400 mark. And I do think that would have went a little bit different had I been able to have that right on right, left on left advantage, just because they never see it. And yes, they're the best hitters in the world, but if you can give them something they've never seen, and I'm fairly confident that with this new guy, Jurangelo St. is his name, and then he's repped by CC Sabathia's wife.
Oh, wow.
So I believe her first name is Amber. I'm not 100% on that, but he's going to have some firepower there on getting that rule changed. He's going to have a lot of backing behind him, and all they have to go no further than my statistics to show that why that wouldn't be a fair thing to force a 1-of-1 to do, and then continue to give that advantage to the hitter. It just doesn't make sense.
So just to be clear for you guys at home that may not know what we're talking about in terms of the rule, a batter who is a switch hitter and a pitcher who is a switch pitcher, the pitcher must declare which side they're going to throw from, and then the batter gets to determine which side of the plate that they're going to be on. So you'd want that to be the other way around, or how would you change it?
I think it should be the pitcher gets the final say in that manner. That way, force the hitter to let the hitter decide what way they want to hit, for sure. Because there has to be some give and take.
Right.
They're better from the left side. Perfect. Go hit from the left side, but then at least allow, Jurangelo to pitch left-handed against that hitter if that's what he wants to do.
So your last time pitching for professional baseball was during the pandemic, and there was nobody in the stands. And then you get a phone call from this wild, crazy circus of a baseball league in Savannah Bananas that say, hey, Pat, we want you to come pitch. What was that like? Because that seems like the most perfect fit ever for a Bananas pitcher to be able to throw with both arms.
So Jesse had called me not long after I had hung up the cleats in 22, I think it was, and asked me to come pitch. And I said, I've started this new job. I appreciate it, but just now is not the right time. I'm full bore. And as a 35-year-old, anytime you enter a new career, there's a learning curve that takes place. No matter how much college you have, the business world, it's a little different than pro ball. So I was like, I'm going to just stay into this. And then they reached back out last June. And I said, I've had my eyes on this. It's something I want to do. Let me see how the arms respond to some training. So I was going up to this local facility we have here in Peoria, Illinois at night, throwing the ball against a wall. And it honestly, it felt pretty good after a month. So I called him back and said, yep, I can do it. And I had 2 months to get ready for my outing in October in Marlins Park last year.
How many people were in the crowd? Thousands, right?
It was sold out. There were like 38,000 people there that night. And, with the Marlins, I had pitched in that park against the Marlins, never with probably more than 10,000. I did face the Dominican Republic there with Team Italy back in 2013 or 2017. I don't remember when, but it was rocking then. That was a pretty hard crowd going against us there with the Dominican fans. But the Savannah Bananas, it's the best way to describe it is just pure joy. From the moment you get to the park, it's just all fun. The results matter to a certain degree, but at the end of the day, they're playing music behind each pitch. There's so much other stuff going on that all people want to see is a cool play here and there. And then whatever else happens. But these are some extremely talented individuals that I have a tremendous amount of respect for.
I know Major League Baseball is Major League Baseball, but can you compare it at all when you were up with the A's? Is there any comparison when you're on the mound and just what's happening on the field?
No, it's a very different beast. The Bananas are more geared towards the entertainment aspect, to where Major League Baseball is all results oriented, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're so hyper focused on whatever your job is that day in Major League Baseball. Whereas when you're playing with the Savannah Bananas, you are hyper focused on giving each one of those fans there the best experience they could ever have. So for me, that was coming up with a trick pitch, spinning and twisting, switching in between pitches. All of those things are not really tied to an outcome. Yes, you want to have the good outcome, but it's more experience. That's the best way I could describe it, if that makes sense.
I've seen the still photos. I haven't seen the actual video yet of you pitching with the Bananas. Did the crowd know that you were capable of doing that?
They probably had no idea. And you know what? It couldn't have probably gone any better. I faced two hitters. First of all, I had to come out of the game. I was coming in with 1 out in the 5th inning. I was pitching the first 2 outs of the 5th inning.
Okay.
Because when the inning ended, they were breaking out into a pitch perfect dance that I didn't know. So no matter what happened, I could have thrown 2 pitches or even and I was coming out of the game no matter what, because that's just how that was going.
Right.
I ended up striking out the first guy I faced, who was actually trying to draw a walk, which was wild to me and I wasn't expecting. I got him with a little 3-2 slider that he wasn't waiting on. And then I got the next guy on a ground ball to the second baseman who did a sweet play between the legs to a backhanded catch at first base. It was pretty cool.
It's such a cool thing to see because I think baseball needs it. It needs to lighten it up and have something like the Harlem Globetrotters baseball and have it be a part of it. What did it do for you afterwards? Did it restart the fire at all? Did it make you miss baseball, or was that like, okay, I'm glad that I left when I left?
No, it definitely makes you miss it. And then, especially when your kids are there getting to enjoy all that. That was the best part for me. My son was 3 when I stopped pitching, and he doesn't really remember any of those outings. But, he won't forget being, at Marlins Park there. And I actually went to go when they were in Des Moines last year. I went and had a practice with them, so my kids got to go onto the field with them and all that. I'm hoping they go back to Omaha so I can fire it back up again, but we'll see what happens.
Oh, that would. Oh man, gosh, yeah, that has to happen if they're gonna be in Omaha. And they would go to the Chuck, I'm assuming, right? Yeah, for that they'd go play
Memorial Stadium.
Oh boy, Memorial. Yeah, that's crazy. They're playing football stadiums now. I forgot that they've elevated
back-to-back nights at football stadiums. Like, could you imagine that? That show in Lincoln, it'd be nuts.
It would be nuts. And for you, for a kid from Nebraska, how would that be like?
I'll do everything I can to convince them that they need another guest appearance that night.
Absolutely. Listen, Pat, thank you for doing this. I'm glad we got you on. Last question. The College World Series going on right now. As I know you don't live in Omaha anymore, but like what does the College World Series mean to you as a local, as a kid that grew up with Rosenblatt in the backyard, played at Rosenblatt, obviously with the Creighton Blue Jays, and now watching what's downtown, the new ballpark that's been built for the CWS. What's this time of the year like for you?
I'm pretty convinced I've spent more time around the College World Series than any other 40-year-old in the country. I grew up going to Dingerville there with the little RV park when it was by Zesto, not the parking lot behind. Glenarp Allmendinger came to my brother's wedding.
I haven't heard Zestos. Oh my gosh, that's wow.
So we were meeting so many people from, the Allmendingers. They were from Lake Charles, and then we'd meet the people from Mississippi State. We'd go to their RVs, hang out. And then Warren Morris, the home run. Pat Venditte hit a ball over the scoreboard when he played with, I think it was Miami. But the firefighters were on the top row of the bleachers showing me where the ball was. Me and a couple other kids were looking in the tall grass out there. I have so many fond memories. And, we was just out there last week for the Gratitaville baseball camp that we put on at Creighton, and just seeing all the fanfare around there. I would go walk around the little ballpark village with my son at night, just have a great time. There's nothing better.
It really is probably the most underrated sporting event in America right now. And I tell people all the time, like, you have to go. It's so much fun. LSU's theirs right now. And LSU being in town makes it, you don't know who's going to be there. But when LSU fans show up, Omaha is a really fun town to
be. It's a bucket list item that everybody I've ever talked to, they have nothing but rave reviews for it.
And I'm proud of the 5 years I spent in Omaha going to it and covering it. It was a ton of fun. Pat, thank you for coming on. Let's do this again sometime down the line. All right.
I look forward to it. Thanks, man.
That's Pat Vendetti joining us here on the Bostonian versus the Book. Good to get him on the program. Glad we got the microphone to work on this, and walked down memory lane for me. My gosh, I remember that like verbatim. Like, I mean, Zesto's is a ice cream place that's right down. It was next to Rosenblatt Stadium that had just lines of people constantly. And again, I haven't been back, so I haven't actually seen the College World Series. They call it the Chuck at TD. No, TD Ameritrade was bought out by Charles Schwab. So it's Charles Schwab Stadium. And I haven't been there to the new one. And so like I was hugely active in my radio show to help the ballpark funding be passed to build the ballpark downtown, because Rosenblatt Stadium is, was up on the hill. I should have asked Pat the nickname for Rosenblatt, but it was kind of like Fenway Park. It had sentimental value for a lot of people, but it was a dump. And I say that lovingly, but Rosenblatt Stadium was a dump and the players knew it. And so the NCAA went to the city of Omaha and said, look, we're willing to give you guys a 20-year lease to hold the College World Series. It's now a 30-year lease to hold the College World Series here, but you got to build a brand new ballpark. And we want it downtown. We want it easier to get to. We don't want it up on the hill where there's, RV parking and tailgating, which all the locals loved, but the fans that came in from out of town didn't really love that. And so they wanted to be closer to restaurants and bars and have it be more of a walkable city. And so they built TD Ameritrade. And I was there at the groundbreaking ceremony. The mayor asked me to be there. And so I went down there, and the mayor came over to me at the groundbreaking ceremony and was like, you should be proud of this. And I'm like, why? Like, you really helped to get this done. We owe you a thanks for helping get this done, because at the time, much similar to what happened here in Vegas when it came to building Allegiant Stadium, nobody wanted to use public money to build the stadium. And like I said, with Allegiant, if you're going to build a stadium, this is how you use public money, because you're going to get the College World Series every single year. It's never going to leave. Just like here in Vegas, we got the Raiders, not just the Raiders, but great concerts and events that have been coming through here because of the venue that you are building. So I'm a believer. I'm cool with going ahead and having public money being utilized with that. So I left Omaha and Des Moines. I left the area before the new ballpark was completed. So for me, I 100% want to go back and there. Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, Crop Duster. Appreciate that. Yeah, you should be dying. Omaha is tremendous. It's such a fun town. It really is. It's such a cool place. And it really is there's 3 Zestos in Fort Wayne. I didn't know Zestos was a chain. Wow. Learn something every day. That's very cool. It's really good ice cream. That's really, really good ice cream on that. So it's super fun. The College World Series is super fun. Our friends at VSiN, Stormy and her people were there with Circa, and I was watching all the video, and I was texting with Stormy last night, and I was like, I'm so jealous. Like, you guys were able to go and killed it. And she's like, that was her first time going. And she was like, that was so much fun. We didn't get to spend as much time. They were there for 3 days. She's like, I wish I was there longer. I think her husband was there with her. So it was like Omaha, the partying, everything else. It is so darn fun to be a part of it. Before we get out of here and wrap the show, it's time for favorite thing about today. Favorite thing about today for me, it's pretty simple, and it's that conversation with Pat Vendetti. I've been looking forward to having Pat on the show for a really long time, and I appreciate his time. I've said this before, but my time in Omaha, Nebraska was incredibly transformative for me. I have dear friends still that are from Omaha, that are Creighton fans. I'm still extremely close to the Creighton Blue Jay program. Pat Vendetti, obviously a pitcher for the Creighton baseball program. Ed Service just retired after 25 years as the baseball coach at Creighton University. You know, Greg McDermott is, I've covered a lot of coaches in my career. There's only one coach that texts me on my birthday, and that's Greg McDermott. So there's a lot of people that in Omaha that I have a lot of respect for. And I love whenever I get a chance to talk to them and walk back down memory lane. I hope my dream is to take this show and to show Dave Omaha and to bring him to Omaha. And at some point we're going to do it, whether it be for a Nebraska football game, a Penn State Nebraska game, or something else. College World Series will obviously be a huge part. We really would love to be able to do that at some point. So I want to thank Alex B. Smith of the IceGuys for stopping by and breaking down Game 6 of the Stanley Cup final tonight. Thanks to Pat Vendetti of the Creighton Blue Jays and many Major League Baseball teams that he in organizations that he bounced around with to come on and talking about Savannah Bananas and some baseball as well. Hope to see Dave back tomorrow. If not, it'll just be me, and we'll run with it for as long as we can run with it. We got more information on Friday. We'll break it all down for you guys and explain to you what's going on. But in the meantime, thank you for being here. Back tomorrow for a Wednesday episode of the Bostonian versus the Book.